Insert funny phrase here about how we say naughty words and we say spoilers. Hello and welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
I'm Julie.
And this week we're talking about Season 2, Episode 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, episode title OUROBOROS. Looked that up. OUROBOROS is a symbol that was used in ancient times. Basically, the meaning of it, the image is the snake eating the tail. So it's this cyclical motion. I'm literally drawing with my finger, which you can't see.
I vouch.
She vouches. Because you can't see my finger while I draw. So anyway, let's jump right in with episode 3. And Julie, take it away.
First impressions, Diana. I loved it. What about you?
Yeah.
I was actually really excited for this episode when I found out that we were going to see the cast members from Flight 462.
Right. And I'm a bad Walking Dead person, and dude, it's 14 minutes long. Even Chris Hardwick said so. And I still haven't watched all of the Flight 462 internet shorts, I guess you'd call them.
Yeah,
it was like a short
webisodes.
Webisodes. That's the word I was looking for. So first impression of the episode itself, fantastic. Lots of action, moving back and forth. It was, we're on the beach, we're on the boat. We're on the beach, we're on the boat. We're on the beach, we're on the boat. We're under the boat, we're on the beach, we're on the boat. So there was a lot going on. My notes are very like, we're here, we're there, we're here, we're there.
Yeah, but, it jumped quite a bit, but compared to last episode, I thought last episode was very, it was filled more with information and not as action-packed.
Yeah.
So it did move a little slower, but we learned so much more.
Right.
So I love the episode still because we got so much information that we had been wondering about.
Yeah.
But this episode, we didn't get as much information, but we got to learn some things. We learned about the flight, and we learned more about Strand, which was good. So
little pieces here and there, and there was a lot of the movement back and forth between the shore and the yacht itself. They were active. They were very active this episode. So yeah, great episode all around. As soon as it was finished, I wanted to record last night, for crying out loud. So before we get started talking about everything that happened in the episode, the Flight 462.
I'll do a little breakdown on that, just in case people listening didn't watch it. And for you, Diana, I'll break it down for you a little bit.
Bad girl.
So we start off with the planes on the ground, and Alex, the girl we meet in the episode, is the last person on the plane. And we later find out that she was actually she buys Jake's mom's ticket. She gets on the plane in place of Jake's mom. Jake's mom was supposed to come with. So Jake is the one who had the burnt face.
Okay. Yep.
And Jake's he's looking out the window. He's scared. He doesn't know what's going on, so he's being kind of annoying. And Alex is very annoyed at this point. And he's looking out the window and he's talking to his mom on the phone, and the phone cuts out, and she slams his shade shut. Mm-hmm. It's really rude, and wow, this chick's kind of mean. It progresses. There's someone who is sick from something. I don't know if he had been bit or if he just was getting sick from whatever. And while they're mid-flight, he goes to the bathroom and locks himself in there. He's in there for a long time. He's holding up the line, all the other passengers, and they're trying to get in, and Alex, I don't know how she knows. She has this knowledge. We don't know why she has this knowledge, but she has this knowledge of what's going on, and she's trying to get the hell out of wherever they were. I don't even know where they were. I wasn't paying that close of attention. And so she runs up there, and she's like, no, don't open it. It's not good. They open it. He's dead. He comes back, and a fight ensues. There is a marshal on the plane. He shoots, but he doesn't get him, and bullet in the window. And then Alex is on the ground, and this walker's on her, and this lady had knitting like big knitting needles. And I believe Jake gives her the knitting needles and right through the guy's head. So she's a badass off the bat, right?
Right.
Jake kind of saves her ass by giving her those needles. And then at the very, very last episode of the little webisode series, Nick is still in LA and he watches the plane go down. So they crash, I'm assuming, with the bullet hole, and they probably lose pressure and destabilizes the plane, and chaos ensues, and they crash. So that's kind of where this episode starts off, is them in the ocean. We open up on Alex. She's looking for Jake. She finds Jake. They get into this little lifeboat with a couple of other people. And the last guy to get on had been pulled under, and when they pull him on, they realize that he's bit.
Yeah.
And the the guy in the suit does not hesitate to just knock this guy off the boat with the paddle. Just bam.
I mean, that was a really, having not seen the webisodes, it was really surprising to me, because I was like, man, he reacted to that really fast. He was like, you got pulled under, bam, psh, and pushed him off. And I was like,
I mean, and they did see a little bit of shit on the plane,
Right.
They saw that, and because I want to say that the guy who turns on the plane ends up biting his wife or someone on the plane. So hell breaks loose on this plane.
So on the plane, they do see the biting action. Okay.
So they
Makes
are.
sense now. Yep.
He is very quick to. But I was, I was thinking about it. I was not expecting him to just knock this guy overboard right away, because how long did it take the group that we're watching now to just kill somebody?
Right.
Like even when Liza had been bit, like that was I mean, of course they knew each other and stuff, and this guy probably didn't know this man that he knocked overboard, and it was
either he dies or I die kind of
survival
decision.
of the fittest there. So he made that choice. But it was I said whoa out loud. I was really surprised he did that. And then later on, I think the same guy tries to attack Jake.
Okay.
Because they know that he's going to die, and when you die, you come back. Obviously, they know this already.
It wasn't clear to me. I saw at first it felt like he was attacking Jake, but it felt like he also could have been attacking Alex as well.
And that's very possible.
So I wrote down Alex, but I wasn't sure.
I have a feeling he was going to kill Jake, and Alex protected him.
Right.
And, she feels like she owes this kid. I think partially because she knows that she took his mom's seat, and because he was right there to assist her from the walker on the plane.
Right.
So she feels like she owes her life to this kid. Plus, he is just a kid. He's just a boy,
Right.
He's, 17 maybe?
Okay.
He's about the same age as everyone else, all the other kids in the show. So I think it's a little bit of a motherly instinct there, just kind of kicking in. And she kills that guy like, oh, man. I didn't even know she had a knife on her, just hunting knife to the chest. So now it's just Jake, her, and that redhead with the striped shirt on board.
Yep.
And they have an argument
about putting him
out of misery. Jake out of misery. And he's like, it's okay, you can do it. But then they cut away, and you don't know
exactly what happened there. So they leave it at that and then jump to our people.
Yeah.
So the next scene we see after that, we've got Strand back on the boat, and he makes a quick mysterious call on his little satellite phone. He doesn't get any answer, ends up leaving some kind of cryptic voicemail about how he's on his way. So that was just a brief little moment. I thought it was funny too. And he was finished. He took the phone and he just like threw it in front of him on the deck. And I'm like, dude, anybody's gonna see that phone. And then so the more Strand will happen later. That'll back up some more of that scene. So we sort of we're still on the boat, and we jump over to Maddie and Travis are in bed, and they're together. They're chatting. They start to get a little intimate, or let's get it on. I mean, seriously, I agree with Hardwick. I don't understand why more people don't why are more people not having sex during the apocalypse? If you know you're going to die, I'm just saying. It's like, for me, it'd be like, never mind.
Because they always get interrupted. Look,
right,
Maddie and
true.
Travis got interrupted.
They do. So there's a big noise. They go and check it out. There's some kind of problem with the boat. The boat's not running appropriately, so they got to check it out.
Yep.
And Travis, he sort of decides he'll go underneath to go check it out. And what's funny is I made a little note saying Strand is always fine with someone else taking the risk.
Yeah, for his boat.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's been a couple of other moments too where it's like, oh, I'll go do this, or I'll go check out that thing over there. And he's like, okay, yeah, you go ahead. So he was very. He was totally fine with that happening. So Travis, who. I mean, obviously he must have volunteered to do this because he obviously has some scuba skills, because they put the whole
that was
they get all the stuff in
I
there,
didn't
and
expect that.
you've got to at least have a little bit of skill to be able to do that.
To dive like
exactly.
that. I wouldn't know how to breathe. I've never been scuba diving.
Exactly.
I would not know how to breathe.
It's a totally specific thing. So one can hope. I mean, and he does have some mechanical abilities too, which I forgot about.
Yeah, he's a bit of a well-rounded kind of guy. He kind of does a little bit of everything, I think. Interesting.
Yeah, so he volunteers to go underneath. He's checking out the underside of the boat, and this is another one of those scenes where it's, he's just in the water. There's like literally nothing wrong.
Dark.
It is dark. He's got a little itty bitty flashlight, and it's like you just know something's gonna pop out, just like it's like you're in Jaws or you're in some other water-based horror movie or something. So he's underneath. There's like little bits of debris, like, and in the beginning it's just like little pieces of paper or something are floating, and even that you're like, oh God, what's it gonna find?
Well, I noticed
paper.
I had a feeling right away when we start seeing all these little pieces of things floating around, and then
that we're getting close to where
and then
and the air. We must be getting near where the debris
yeah.
field for the airplane was.
That's what I figured too.
I was assuming how they were gonna, because we knew those stories were gonna connect, so it was just a matter of like, I was like, oh, they must be coming up on the debris field. And of course, when he's checking it out, and when he first says like something's got to be stuck in there, come on, we were all thinking,
knew it was going to be a walker.
We've been there with when they were on their way to Alexandria in the Walking Dead, and they ran into that herd, literally.
Yeah.
And they're like pulling arms out of the car and everything like that.
So on Walking Dead, we get herds with the car, and like the intake and shit's all gummed up, and the car doesn't want, can't breathe, so it doesn't want to run, no air. But with a boat, you get them just stuck in your friggin'
just like
motors.
Like sucked it in. And so he discovers, surprise, surprise, there's an undead stuck in that intake, and he actually goes to dislodge it, and he's still alive, obviously, because he hasn't gotten a shot to the head, and he startles Travis a bunch, but we get a good shot at him, look at him, and he's the guy from the raft,
the redhead
that was with Alex. So that's obviously what happened to him. She made a choice between this person who had stood up for her and had assisted her on the flight. Sure, he was injured, but she felt like she needed to stand up for him, so there must have been some sort of
argument about it, or maybe he tried his hand at trying to stab Jake in his sleep too. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, regardless, he lost. And now he's a semi-permanent member of the Abigail.
And now it's like 2-0 Alex. So you know, don't fuck with Alex.
She's clearly displayed her prowess. So he gets Travis at first gets a little. He gets when he turns around and the zombie is still alive, basically.
He gets so startled, he blows
startled.
his mask and everything off. I was like,
it's totally a Jaws scene. Like, I totally was expecting, original Jaws, when he comes upon, I can't remember the character's name, but it's the one where Richard Dreyfuss's character is down underneath, and he checks, and he Ben Gardner's boat. Oh my God, it just hit me. And there's a hole in the boat, and that's when he finds the tooth, and the head floats out, and he drops the tooth and whatever, and oh God, and he they show the the close up right on the underwater goggles or whatever, and it's like and it pops off and he goes up and whatever. So it's like I totally thought of that scene when Travis did that. He's like and runs up,
and then they cut away right away, and I'm like, what the fuck happened to Travis?
Yeah.
What happened?
Right.
Like, did he get away? Was there more? What's going on?
Right. They just sort of were like, we're gonna cut away and go to something else now.
Yeah, to Daniel and Ophelia.
Yeah. So, next scene we see Daniel.
Yep, Daniel goes to check on Ophelia. She's dressing her wound, and I love how he knocks and she says, "I'm busy," or something, and he just walks in, and she's like,
what the fuck, Dad?
Yeah, pretty much. He wants to help, and then he notices that the wound's starting to look a bit infected.
Yeah.
Touches her forehead and tells her that she feels warm. He asks her, "Have you been taking your antibiotics?" She tells him that she's out. So we find out that she's out. We have no idea how long she's been out. She's out of her antibiotics, and she says it's okay. I'll just ask Maddie for something more.
Stronger.
And he gets no. We can't do that. We keep this between us.
Yeah,
we only rely on ourselves. And just when I thought that Daniel and Maddie, especially the two of them, were kind of building this relationship, next thing you know, he's no.
Yeah,
this is between us. This is a family matter.
I know.
We don't rely on anybody.
It's
else
really
for
surprising, and I know he's been very private, but it was just that moment of like, and you could see that Ophelia was struggling with it too.
Yeah.
She didn't understand why he was going there. It was really interesting because it's like, at least you've got to assume they're looking out for each other in terms of like, at least like surviving and staying together, and getting the drugs is definitely.
I kind of feel like maybe Daniel doesn't want to be in any more debt to these people.
Yeah,
and
that's probably it.
If he uses and he says like, sure, you can go to Maddie now, but if Maddie needs to choose between her daughter and you, she's going to choose her daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is true. Which will happen. It's that's Maddie's flesh and blood. That's in Ophelia's Daniel's flesh and blood.
It's interesting how Daniel's jumping right to that, whereas a lot of people, since they're just sort of coming upon the apocalypse, they're just now learning how to make their way in the apocalypse. Most people would just be like, no, let's just do it now. Whereas like, since Daniel's got this history of being involved in conflict, et cetera, that he immediately jumps to down the road like 20 steps down.
Right.
Like, eventually the shit's going to hit the fan even more, and we're going to get to this point. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So he's preparing for, everybody else would probably be like, no, we would never. And, and it may not happen for a year, but he knows that eventually there's going to be a moment
because
where they're going to have to choose.
That if Ophelia goes to Maddie right now, she would, if she had anything, she would willingly give it to her
right now. Yeah.
She would.
Right.
So I think it was very interesting how Daniel was just like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So they're like just about to wrap up their conversation, and you hear Alicia screaming, "Mom!" So they rush out real quick, and she's got the binoculars, and she spotted some wreckage on the beach. It looks like it washed up from the plane crash.
Right.
And the kids immediately all want to go. They think that, there could be supplies, there could be clothes, there could be a whole bunch of different. It is smart.
Yeah.
And they look. She said she had been watching it for a while, and she didn't see anyone on the beach there. So let's, the boat's stuck in the water anyways. Let's take the little boat to the beach.
You guys do your thing. We'll do our thing.
We're sitting here doing nothing
back.
anyways.
Yeah.
Might as well go in and put our services to use. And there's pretty much Travis and Maddie don't want to let the kids go. The kids are all on the same side, and Daniel just kind of steps up and says, "I'll take them."
Yeah.
Which is interesting again, but he's got a different motive. He's hoping that he's going to find some antibiotics for his daughter, Ophelia. So of course he steps up, and the kids want to go, so it kind of just gives him that, I'll take him, without giving his motive for it.
Yeah.
But right before Daniel leaves,
I'm going to give you the little nugget.
Hey, Maddie, come here. Oh, hey, by the way, Strand's planning to go to Mexico. Bye.
Okay. Yeah. It was definitely like a little, like, I'm going to drop a little truth bomb before I. Yeah.
I was like, why did he do that? So I was going with either he was, I don't know, it was like, did he want Maddie to confront Strand without Daniel being on the boat?
Mm-hmm.
Or was he hoping, like, I don't know. It was just, I thought it was funny that he's just like, hey, I'm going to go to this island. I might not come back, so I'm just going to tell you about this. And that's the thing, too. Was he telling him just in case?
Right.
Just in case I don't return, you should know that Strand is not, he has another plan.
Right.
So was it I don't want to deal with this here. I'm going to leave for a little bit. You deal with it. And he knew Maddie was going to flip out about it, right?
Right.
He knew she was going to confront him.
Of course, which is why he told her.
Right.
Someone else might have, Travis is more of a thinker.
Right.
So he probably would have thought a little bit. He knew, and he also probably figured, all things being equal, if nothing happens while we go ashore, we'll check it out. We'll be gone for like an hour.
Right.
We're going to grab this stuff and we'll turn around and come right back. So he needed somebody who was going to be very emotional about it. He's going to react right away. His reason when he told Maddie, his reason he said was, I'm a little more,
you're more diplomatic about
right?
It. Yeah.
So basically, Daniel's more of a doer rather than a sayer.
Right.
In terms of making you do something.
Right.
So, his reason is plausible, but there's definitely ulterior motive behind it. You can sort of tell. Yeah. Or else he wouldn't have planned it. Right. Like you said, he wouldn't have planned to say it just as he's about to leave. So,
yeah. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Anyway, so he does all of that. And they get in the little boat and they head off. They get to the shore and, Daniel tells them to stay close, stay where I can see.
Within eyesight or something.
Within eyesight, and look for certain things. It's look for medications, look for clean.
Right.
I don't know why I keep saying, man, it is early in the zombie apocalypse when they're like clean clothes is a priority. I'm like, you
don't even know.
Yeah. But he lists the other stuff, non-perishables, if there's any food you can find or anything. So they all sort of split off and they're doing their thing. And big surprise, the person in an emotional journey right now, Chris, he wanders off.
Of course he does. You knew he was going to.
Yeah, absolutely. So he does that, and everybody else continues with their scavenging. We jump back to the boat, the big boat, the yacht boat.
The yacht boat.
My yacht? No. The yacht. And we cut back to Travis trying to fix the boat. He goes under the water and he's sort of traveling along the side. Maddie's up above on the deck following him as he's going. He's blowing out bubbles. So she's sort of following the bubbles as they go along the edge of the boat. And she is watching. And out of nowhere, it's just like bubble, 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 and then it's whoosh, and then it's just blood.
And you're
so
like, much blood.
And at first you're like, you're in your brain, please, just be the. And then the next thing you know, up bobs the striped shirt guy that was in the intake, and had he gotten a shot to the head? Was he dead, or was he still?
I thought he had. Alex's hunting knife to his chest.
Oh, I don't mean how he became a zombie. I mean when he floated up, was he done for? Like had Travis taken him out of his misery?
He stopped.
I think
moving.
so, yeah, because he looked like he was just floating.
Yeah.
So he's now no longer. So now he's a floaty.
Yeah. Well,
sort of floater, floaties. Anyway, so. So presumably that's out of the intake, so that's good. We jump back to the beach. At the beach, Nick is searching around. He finds a pocket knife. I have thoughts on that. And then he finds this hat. He puts it on Alicia. And then Alicia finds this really cute captain's shirt, clearly from someone who's an air pilot.
Yeah.
And obviously that was his luggage. Poor guy.
Yeah.
So they have this cute little brother-sister exchange.
It was such a cute little
Yeah, it was a nice little moment, where they had a little it's funny, I said before we started to Julie, you forget at times that they even are brother and sister because they just don't have that warm bond, you can tell they've got a little history, but they just don't have that warmth, mostly because of his addict history.
Right.
So my point about the knife I was going to say was like, okay, what plane anywhere post 9/11 are you able to get a nice switchblade like that into
As
your
soon as
luggage.
I saw it, the first thing I thought was that had to be a checked bag. Because I'm pretty sure you can bring weapons on as long as it's checked.
I hope so. Because it was literally, I was like,
There's no way it was a carry-on.
I was like, how'd that get past TSA? I call bullshit. Bullshit, I say. All right, fine. Checked bag.
Yeah, I'm
Fear
thinking
the
it was a
Walking
checked
Dead people.
bag. But yeah, so
Anyway.
Nick and Alicia had that cute little conversation, and then we cut over to Chris, and he finds a large part of the plane, the fuselage, and he walks in there, and of course I'm sitting there like, Chris, what are you doing? Stop it.
Right.
And there is a guy who looks like he's just dead, and then a walker strapped in with the face oxygen mask on his face.
Love that. That was
I thought it was
probably
funny
one of
how
my
he's like, you
favorite
can't bite
zombies.
me through this.
Yeah.
And then another walker strapped in behind him.
Yep.
Like it looks like the row right behind. So he grabs something from the plane and part of the fuselage and beats the walker. And right after he does that, he like goes to, I think, does he go to reach for the man who looks to be just dead? I'm sitting there, I'm like, how is this man dead? Did he have like massive head trauma when they crashed?
Yeah,
And then
it wasn't clear.
Yeah, and then he wakes up and he's like, help me. And I'm like, oh, God, he's alive.
I know. One is alive, multiple exclamation points in my notes. My God. Talk about a way. And of course, he's alive. Cut to commercial.
Yeah. So yeah, Chris finds this guy, and then we cut back to the boat, to the yacht, I should say. And Maddie confronts Strand about Mexico. They go back and forth a bit. They're arguing.
It's surprising that she would confront him about that. She's just not an emotional person.
No, not at all. I thought it was funny. Are we going to Mexico or not? Like, just like
point
blank.
I was literally expecting her to like stamp on the boat. She was like, I don't want to go to Mexico. You said we were going to San Diego.
But yeah,
Anyway.
they go back and forth. They get into this argument, and then they weirdly agree to trust each other. Just like, we have to have our backs on this. Just kind of like out of nowhere, the argument ends, and they're just like, okay, fine.
Yeah, it was sort of like there was a brief pause, and
Yeah.
it was just like, well, I won't kill you if you don't kill me.
Right.
Kind of. They didn't say that, but it was really kind of like that was basically what they were saying was, fine, if we'll just agree to not kill each other,
Right.
and we'll just move forward from
Yeah.
here, I guess.
Yeah,
is
it
what
was
we're
so
saying.
weird. It just like ended,
Oh,
and
so
then they cut back to Chris again, and he unbuckles this survivor on this plane, and when he falls out of his chair, you see this massive broken back.
Oh, it's so gnarly.
so crazy.
So awesome.
Oh man, that had to be so painful. But so yeah, Chris sits with this survivor for a few minutes, and the guy just keeps saying, "Help me, help me, help me." There's nothing Chris can do for him. He's done. There's no helping this man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the survivor knows it, if he knows that there's no help coming. There's
Looks
nothing.
like they had a look though.
Yeah.
Didn't it feel like they shared like some kind of look where it was saying "help me,"
Right.
And the "help me" after a while didn't mean
actually
fix
help
me.
me.
It was
me, like put me out of my
get me
misery.
out of here.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah.
So Chris grabs his piece of the plane again and just bludgeons this guy.
God, what a
Stops,
scene.
looks, still alive, bludgeons some more. Like, and I was just like, dear God. Like,
Can we just give like tip number 395 for those faced in the zombie apocalypse? Blunt objects, bad. Sharp objects, good. Yeah. Because when it comes to the blunt object, you're going to put, let's see, you're not eating as much as you normally would.
Right.
You don't have the kind of energy you
No.
normally would.
Well, and it
What do you
takes
want to
longer.
expend the least amount of energy on? I mean,
like,
exactly.
At least in The Walking Dead, we're a few years in. These corpses are rotted. You can step on the head and it's done.
Right.
These are
These are
people. These
fresh.
are fresh people, and this guy was still alive. There was
Right.
no rotting to
Right.
him, so he had to like beat this man
Oh my
to
God.
death.
Oh my
Which
God.
what the fuck did that do to Chris's psyche? Already messed up psyche, right?
I know. We sort of want to talk about this a little bit where it's like, you know, we were talking before when he was killing the walkers at the fence on the island at the ranger station in the
Right.
last episode, going through those stages of grief, and we said that the next thing that he would need to do to really sort of kind of come full circle on all of the deaths that can happen in the zombie apocalypse. The mercy kill is the thing he needed to experience, and this was it.
I totally agree, because I think he got to be put in Travis's shoes. Now, he didn't know this man. He didn't have a personal relationship with this man. So what Travis went through is still 10 times worse, having to put Liza, give Liza mercy. But at least now he understands kind of what his father had to do when he...
Yeah.
So...
I mean, that's rough, and it was one of those things where you knew he was going to have that moment. So I really feel like it's helped like make him stronger. Like it's strengthened and emboldened him. He's more prepared.
Yeah. Well, I think everything that's happened in the last couple episodes with Chris are going to either help him and he's going to end up becoming stronger because of it, or it's going to hurt him and he's just going to turn into a sociopath, total psychopath,
right?
Just crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I have faith and hope that this only makes him a stronger person.
Because, if you go back to season 1 and you think about the person that Chris was, he was conscientious.
Right.
He was the one out of all of them that he was, he was the one that was at the riot downtown.
They were protesting. He's like, I'm doing something. I'm part of this.
Yeah, and he was more about being in the middle and being part of something bigger and more important. And then he was the one that saw the light in the window.
Right.
And Travis did not believe him. And he saw, you know what I mean? Like, he just feels like he's more than the average teenager. He's got, like, more soul.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that will come through again, that it didn't get crushed down by all of these bad things he had to deal with.
I agree.
So quickly, so personally, so fast. Because most people at least would have some, ramp up, to, when you think of some of the journeys other people have been on, it's been like, run from walkers, learn how to kill walkers, learn how to do, all of these things leading all the way up to eventually someone I know and love is going to need to be put out of their misery. And unfortunately, his was like right in the beginning.
Right.
So I'm hopeful maybe he will. So there's we move away from that scene. We're still on the beach, and we get over to Nick, who finds this doctor bag, which is great. He's got all these drugs in there. I couldn't quite see, but it looked like more of the antibiotic variety. More
I saw one. I think it's a
penicillin,
penicillin or amoxicillin. One of the two.
One of the
Cillins that he said that Daniel should be looking out for.
Exactly. So he finds that Dr. Becker, which was fantastic. He was so excited to see it.
Yeah.
And then we jump back over to the yacht, and we find Maddie is in the midst of a conversation with Travis. She's telling him about the
Strands plan.
Mm-hmm. She's trying to convince him. Travis he's not quite there. No. He's not on board. He's not convinced quite yet. So then we move from that scene to Daniel is now realized that Chris is missing.
Oh, shit.
And he's looking all around, and he he's calling his name, which I made a note. No yelling in the apocalypse.
Right.
Things will come to find you. Always whisper.
Well, there's someone running towards him, and he thinks it's Chris. So he's like screaming Chris's name. But stop it. They're running towards you. Just stop.
I know.
yelling.
And I even wrote it. I'm like, here comes Chris? ? And then as the person gets closer and closer and closer, you realize that it's actually Alex
from the plane.
From the plane. And she's running towards him, and she's saying, they're coming. They're coming. And we all know what that means. So, walkers start to appear along the dune, and they're coming towards, and then as it really materializes, you realize,
it's our
ladies and gentlemen,
herd.
We got our first herd. So they start moving towards, and then we cut away quickly to another scene on the beach still. So the herd is obviously approaching, and
Nick doesn't know.
Daniel is the only one who's aware at this point.
Right.
And Nick is elsewhere, and he hears a walker again magically. The boy has magic ears,
supersonic hearing or something.
And he looks down into this sort of crevice area in the beach and sees a walker stuck in the sand.
Yeah,
and
like a sinkhole or something.
And he's leaning to look, and you see the edge start to crumble, and you're like, no, and then it crumbles away under his feet and he falls.
This walker is like covered in crabs. It was super
fantastic.
cool.
Really well done.
So cool. And then the walker grabs a crab and eats it. And I just thought it was so funny. Is like the crab is eating him and he starts eating crabs. And I just thought that the little circle was really funny.
Yeah, that was someone made a note of that online. When I was reading something, they said that the walker eats the crabs eat him, adds to that the cycle of everything's, the circle of life, if you will. And so Nick falls into this pit.
Oh my God.
Oh, that was awful. I'm like my heart's in my chest. I mean, this guy's stuck in the sand, but he's still, again, we have to reiterate, these are fresh walkers. So they're not when they're walking, they're a little shambly, but when they're up close, their muscles haven't atrophied yet.
Yeah.
They've got strength. They can pull you closer, quicker, faster. If this was 3 years in and we're on The Walking Dead and you had someone stuck in the sand, they'd be more like grabby, like slappy,
slow,
like slowly putting their arms out. But this guy, he's got strength and he's grabbing Nick. He's pulling him towards him. It's a really tense scene. It's a very tense struggle.
Yeah.
And Nick just finds that knife that he had found earlier that was in his pocket and just stabs it right in the head.
Chris, stabby, not blunty.
Right. He aimed for the head. He did a good job. And then he's just laying there. He's got the corpse on him. And then a walker falls into the crevice with him. And I'm so shit.
Yeah.
Well, because we also know from the scene before that this herd is moving toward them. So,
right.
Is that like one of the edge of the herd is coming toward him?
Yeah, because we don't know where where
Nick is in relationship to Daniel
exactly.
and what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in there. He kills that walker. Then another one falls in, and you've got to assume that after that there's got to be more.
Yeah. So they cut away.
Yep.
Alicia finds Chris, and they're kind of talking like he's got blood on him, and she's kind of worried like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Oh no, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm totally fine. Like he's cool. Like
he was calm.
Yeah, very calm.
Strangely.
Yeah, and then we hear Daniel's gun go off.
Right.
And then we cut to the yacht where Maddie hears the gun go off also.
And then Mom Girl freaks out into action.
Yeah. So she starts screaming, "Travis, Strand," and Travis is like, 5 minutes, I got it. Like he runs downstairs, he gets the whole filtration system or whatever all figured out, and they're moving.
And Strand was on it too. Like they were both like, they were like, "I'll jump and do this, and you do that, and blah blah blah. 5 minutes, I'll be ready to go." Yeah.
And so they jump back to the beach, and the herd's moving in.
Mm-hmm.
You've got them; their backs up against this cliff.
Yeah.
So it's Alicia, Alex, Chris, and Daniel together, and they just start kicking ass.
Yeah, Daniel runs out of his bullets, unsurprisingly, pretty quick.
Shouldn't have used them anyways.
Yeah, no kidding. It just brings more. When will they learn?
Everyone grabs something.
Yep.
I love how Alex had like a steak, like a ground steak, like a yellow ground steak.
She came running in with that thing.
Yeah, she was
ready.
She knows stabby. So they all grab something, and Chris is like flying like Walker kill. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, that went well.
But yeah, so they're kicking ass, taking names. They're doing really well, but there's just too many of them.
Yeah, you can feel it starting to get tight.
It's too
very tight.
They're getting surrounded, and you think there's no way out for our group here. And Nick comes out of nowhere, covered in walker blood, and just opens up a little path for them.
I know.
And then you get this great scene where they take off and Nick stays behind, and he just squares up face to face with the walker.
Fantastic.
Great scene.
Such a great moment.
Man, and his face is covered.
Yeah.
And this walker's doing his like, So Nick starts doing it back at him.
I know. It was so cool.
And Nick has already been my favorite throughout this series. He's my favorite character. This episode, like, even more so. Like, favorite character.
Yeah, what a great episode for him. He and the way he was covered in blood was just so it was just like something we haven't seen before. Usually when someone's covered in blood, it's like splash all over their chest.
Yeah.
Or like, every time you turn around, Rick's covered in blood. And so Rick on The Walking Dead has probably got like a splash across his face. But literally, Nick is literally drenched in blood.
It looks like he dunked his head under a puddle of blood and just like slicked his hair back. Just covered from
For a
shoulders
second,
up.
I actually didn't recognize him.
No?
Because his whole face was covered.
He did look
and he's got
kinda
such
funny.
striking features when that's not there. And his hair was slicked back, and his hair's just been a hot mess since day one. So his hair was slicked back. It was out of his face for like the first time, and his face was completely covered.
Yeah.
And yes, it was the captain's shirt, but I still wasn't convinced. It like took a second for me to be like, is he okay? And it was just fantastically done.
You know, Alicia screams back, Nick, come on.
Yeah.
Snaps him out of it.
Yep.
He digs off, and they get to the boat. And Alicia hugs Nick, like, are you okay? Freaks out on him and then just hugs him and holds him for way too long. You've got a herd coming after you. It's like, I'm screaming at her. I'm like, Alicia, get in the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Alex mentions that they need to make a quick stop.
Yep.
And then we cut back to the yacht, and our Daniel and the kids are pulling the raft with, lo and behold, Jake.
Yep, is in it still.
And Strand freaks out right away.
Of course.
I'm not taking anybody on my boat. They're arguing about it. Alicia like breaks. Alicia like screams at Strand like he's dying. And I thought that was great. Like Alicia finally showed. I felt like Alicia hasn't showed much emotion lately.
Yeah.
I feel like she's kind of been in a bit of a depressed state a little bit. And she really she's done passing up other survivors and letting people just die.
Right.
She's tired of it.
Right.
So she freaks out, and so Strand agrees, we'll tow them. We'll tow them, and Travis
We'll give them some supplies. We'll give them some food and water and a blanket.
And Travis actually kind of takes Strand's back and backs up Maddie about the whole, like, they tell everyone they're going to Mexico, and everyone's like, why? Why are we going to Mexico? And Travis takes Maddie and Strand's back, and they agree that, they're going to give the Alex and Jake some water and some food, and they're just going to tow them. And then we cut to Nick's still covered. He's cleaned up a little bit, he like around his eyes and stuff. And he goes up by Ophelia and gives Ophelia the rosary that Daniel had found dropped when he noticed Chris wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, he jumped up when he didn't notice Chris was gone. He had initially found the rosary, but dropped it.
So he gives the rosary. It's not a very long scene between the two of them. And then we kind of cut back, and Maddie's on the deck, and she's watching Alex and Jake in this yellow boat, and Strand comes out of nowhere and just cuts the line. Boom.
Oh, God.
And episode over.
Yeah.
And I was pissed. I was so mad at Strand.
And it's funny, too, because like it felt like Strand was struggling with it a little bit. I think he was more struggling with what people's reaction is going to be.
Yeah.
I think if he were by himself, I mean, that would have never happened to begin with, but he wouldn't have hesitated. I think he was hesitating because of like the conversation he and Maddie had, and he doesn't feel obligated to them in any way.
Yeah.
Feels like they're exactly like this boat. They're towing along. They're sort of like extra, but he can't handle any more extra. Like mentally, he's just gone there. But still.
I really hope we see Alex again.
Yeah,
because I feel like they put way too much thought and energy into her character for us not to see her again.
Yeah, and
and
to put as much work into the webisodes, then to have them connect with the show.
To only be a one episode interaction.
And if you think about it, let's say this whole thing happened and you didn't meet Alex at all. This whole scene the only thing of huge substance that came out of this that was directly related to Alex was the fact that they took them along.
Right, and then Strand cut the line.
Right. Everything else would have Nick would have still been able to save them.
Yeah.
They would have still gotten the luggage. They would have still gotten these things. It all would have been the same. So the fact that they made such an effort to put her into that episode and then have her cut away.
Yeah, I really hope we see her again.
Feels.
And I have a theory. We'll talk about it when we get to our scenes for next week.
I mean, it was sort of a similar feeling to when Enid left on Walking Dead. They were talking to her later, and she was pretty vague about it. I'm sure she knew that she was coming back at that point, but there was no indication that we were ever going to see her again. Especially considering she wanted to leave so badly.
Yeah, that's
but,
true.
in your head, you were like, I wonder
There's
if
too
we're
much
gonna
here.
Right. They spent too much time setting her up, which I feel like, and if ever, like, they went through a whole different medium to set her up.
Right.
Like, they did this whole special thing to set her up. It'd be
Right.
bizarre if we didn't ever see her again.
It would be. So I hope we do. I really liked her. I really think that
interesting if she became like the Morgan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if she just sort of popped up like once a season.
Yeah, that
or
would
something.
be kind of hilarious. Like we run into her again like at the end of the season or
I thought it was heartbreaking too. Like just before Strand cuts the line, Alex was trying to comfort Jake and she literally said, "It'll never hurt worse than right now." And then I wrote after it, "Wrong."
Mm-hmm.
Because she was feeling dejected by being having to be towed behind. She was honestly couldn't understand, like, when they were within that argument and Strand's like, "No," and Alicia's like, "Yes," and they're screaming. Alex had a line too where she's like, "Are you people really debating this? Is this really?" You know, she just couldn't believe that was happening. So to have that debate happen, to lose, to be dragged behind like you're lesser than, and she was like, "This is so painful, and this is the worst it'll feel." It's like, nope.
Yeah, I know. And I have a little bit of a problem with the plane crash.
Okay.
Right? So when we open up, the survivors are all in the water.
Right.
And there's chunks of the plane in the water and everything. And then they're floating for a while. And then when we get to the beach, there's like huge chunks of the plane. How did the crash happen to have so much of the plane so scattered? I'm really confused.
Well, it depends too on the piece that Chris found that was sort of up on the shore. It's hard to say. See, the thing is, with tides and stuff like that, high tides and low tides.
I was wondering, but the plane would have sunk. You would think, right? I could see like the luggage and everything drifting ashore.
Right.
But the plane itself you think would have sunk unless it actually crashed very, very close to the land.
Right.
But where Alex and Jake and the other survivors seemed to be was pretty far out because they drifted a while.
Yeah, it's hard to say. So you had issues with that.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a problem with that. And the only thing – so my husband and I are kind of obsessed with like why planes crash. We watch that show way too much. It's bad, actually.
You shouldn't fly in actual planes then, by the way.
No, like
because I have those issues too.
It intrigues us on like why planes crash, like the different things that cause airplanes to crash. There is a show. It has a couple of different episodes, and it's called Why Planes Crash. It's actually very intriguing. But if you're like kind of afraid to fly, and then you watch that, you really aren't going to want to fly. But so my husband's like, well, maybe like it hit the water at just the right angle to make it kind of like
break apart,
explode, kind of.
Probably could have,
and stuff just kind of flew everywhere.
Right.
So that's what he was thinking, but I don't know. My brain just couldn't like. It just seemed like they were so far away from each other that, I don't know. My brain just couldn't wrap around it. But anyways, do you have any questions?
I think both of us said that we had less questions this week than we had more like statements and talking points and stuff like that. Let's revisit the never-ending question statement section of
Strand.
Let's talk about Strand and let's discuss the Mexico thing. I think that there's elements of truth to what he said to Maddie about the place in Rosarita, but he's still hiding something. Still hiding something. I don't know what it is, but obviously, because he's hiding it well. But.
Someone did message us and ask, Elizabeth from New Mexico asked, do you think that the whole entire thing is a ruse? Or do you think, like, because I've been thinking maybe Baja or wherever they're going in Mexico is his end game, but he needs to go somewhere to get somebody first.
It's possible.
And Elizabeth thinks that it's just none of it's true.
Right.
So we
It's a
were
good
we were
question,
talking
Elizabeth.
a little
Thank
bit
you.
back and forth about that, about
Yeah.
what we thought about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those things. We're not gonna ever. I don't think we're ever gonna really know until we get to where we're going, until things start to really pan out. And if anything happens to Strand, we're never gonna know exactly what his plan was. You know what I mean?
Which would totally suck. Like
Yeah.
if something were to happen, say like next episode to Strand, and just be like, what was his plan?
Yeah, damn it. I did make a comment here too that I did love that Nick discovered the scent thing so quickly. The
Yes.
masking and the scent thing, which
Is he going to share
seriously,
that? Like, did he comprehend what happened?
Why would he? Because nobody in the Walking Dead universe shares that. It is the best proven defense, and nobody ever fucking uses it. It
Right.
drives me banana pants. I swear to God, I'd never understand, like, how long in between Rick doing it in season one
and with him and Glenn. Did they use it again?
Yeah, it was this season.
No, they
did
did
they-
it. No, they used it again. I can't think of what episode.
Yeah,
but I know they.
but
used
between,
it again.
if you think of the tiny moments where it happened, between that,
It's like once every other season.
yeah,
or
exactly,
something.
and then with Carol saving them from Terminus, and then with the most recent season, it's like, people, like, I understand it's not the most practical solution,
Right.
You know, you've got to have, you know, how they did it most recently. If you have sheets, so they can, you know,
Right.
take that shit off when you're done, because who the
Right.
hell wants that?
Yeah.
But
it's
it's like,
gross. You're covering
it
yourself
is.
with this.
It's
this
gross, but it's like, I'll take gross and
over a
alive
dead.
rather than I'm super duper clean, but there's a zombie eating my face right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just drives me bananas, because especially for those, like, why didn't they? Oh, sorry, I'm gonna. People, if you're gonna have someone who's weak like Eugene was, why don't you just, like, cover him in that shit, so that, because he's not going to carry a weapon, like, at least when they first introduced him, just, like, slop him in that stuff and just be like, okay, you're safe.
We're
No
gonna
one's ever going
refresh
to
this
attack
every
you.
2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Ew.
Oh, God. Ew. I mean, ew, I get it. And it does. It wears off, so you have to keep...
Right. It dries. It doesn't.
Whatever.
It's not
But
as pungent.
But I approve of the use of the scent mask, and I hope that Nick passes it along, or at least uses the knowledge for himself and uses it again, you know, because
Yeah.
they haven't had a lot of access to weapons. A lot of the things that they're doing are, you know, they're hitting or they're poking or stabbing. So, yeah. Anyway, so there's that. I had a little note to talk about the Ouroboros, which is but we already talked
Yeah,
about
I
that at
talked
the
about it in the
beginning.
beginning.
So
And I don't
think
have any
that's-
questions.
I don't
so-
have any questions either. Any extra comments you had about the show?
Uh,
Thanks again to Elizabeth for sending in your comments.
She also just made a comment about how she thought it was fascinating how the herd was so much faster and more aggressive than compared to like The Walking Dead, because they're so fresh. They're so,
They really are.
You know, they're so new that they weren't as fumbly and slow, and they were just right there, and they were harder to you know, fend off.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, that was about it.
Okay.
That was all I got.
Well, then let's move on to the scenes we see for next week.
Well, first, so we always have the clip-its right at the end of the episode, and it looks like someone's taking over the yacht.
Yeah.
Looks like maybe pirates caught up.
Yeah, and I put there's a section where Daniel said we don't need Strand, and there's
Yeah.
the image of someone floating.
Yes,
So
that looked strikingly like Strand.
It did.
But
so
it's a preview, and it's misleading.
Right.
On
So they're
purpose.
trying to push you in that direction. So it could easily be like one of these pirates that are chasing after them
Right.
who maybe physically
Right.
looks a little bit like Strand.
Right.
So we don't know. But
My theory, or at least I'm kind of hoping, is maybe right when it's looking the most grim for our group on this yacht being overtaken by pirates, that maybe Alex comes and kicks ass and saves the day.
hey, won't that be great?
Now can Strand really say, no, I can't have you on my boat after saving his life?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think that's the only real reason Maddie's still the group other than Nick.
Yeah.
I think, like we talked
Because they
about last
assisted
week,
to getting
that
him out,
he
yeah.
wants Nick on the boat, but they saved his life.
Yeah.
Without Maddie and Travis, there would be no Strand.
Right.
So, and then we have the little scene that we get to watch during
Talking Dead. What a fantastic little clip that was.
Nick swimming to shore,
Yep.
naked, with a bag tied around his ankle full
Yeah.
of what looks to be supplies and clothes.
Very Shawshank of him, pulling
Very
his stuff
Shawshank,
behind him.
yes.
If he opens up that bag and he's got a hand-carved chest set, then screw it. I'm done.
But then helicopter flies overhead.
I know.
Boats searching the water, and then all these lights on the water. The fuck is going on?
Who the hell knows? And I wonder too, like, is this what Strand is heading for?
Right.
Does he have any connection to this? Or is this like a really high-tech version of like is this a water version of like a Negan-style gang or a Governor-style gang? You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like, you got to figure if you've got, people on land that are taking over certain areas, and then
You would think they'd have people on the water,
people on
too.
the water do the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Oh, brother. Well, you figure if you could find because there's going to be like ships and things like that out in the middle of the water that people are going to die. They're going to, there's probably zombie ships floating all over the place. Interesting thought.
Yeah.
Tankers and containers and
I
stuff
love
like that.
Ghost ships. That's another fascination of mine. Planes crashing and ghost ships. Like, that's just what Julie likes. It's really weird. I'm weird.
Diana's more of a baseball, football kind of gal, and she doesn't go into those things. So, tomato, tomato. So it just, think of the amount of supplies you could get. Like, take like one of those huge, like 2-mile long tankers that has like all of those containers on it, filled with whatever supplies coming from all over the place. Oh,
What
you're
about
making a face.
A cruise ship with thousands of people on it, all zombies.
Yeah, exactly. Can you
that
imagine?
would be terrifying.
Oh my God, they have to show that. And just imagine them shuffling and shambling along next to a perfectly placed buffet filled with like, shrimp cocktail and all kinds of all you can eat desserts. And they're like, going by. Hilarious. Awesome. Yeah, so that's scenes from next week. Now, we cannot confirm or deny if any of those cruise ship scenes are going to happen next week. But somebody hits the water and it doesn't look like they have a life preserver on. And there's some kind of crazy scene with Nick and the helicopters, which we don't really know what that's about.
I was thinking maybe it was a flashback, but it was so weird.
Yeah, it's too.
But
I don't think so.
There was a part in the little clippets after the episode where someone says, "Where's Nick?" So
okay. So it's connected. So
has
it's
to be
real
connected.
time right now.
Yeah.
God, I'm dying to see what that is.
Yeah.
So that was this week's episode. We're so excited. Things are really ramping up on Fear the Walking Dead. Next week will be episode 4. In the meantime, until we talk again, so many different ways to reach out to us online.
You can find us on our Facebook, Aim for the Head Podcast, our Instagram, also Aim for the Head Podcast. We've been using a hashtag AFTH podcast for if you want to just kind of hashtag us in anything, take some pictures of your nerd gear.
Easier for us to find you.
Yeah.
Julie and I have taken some pictures of some of our Walking Dead zombie style nerd gear, and we're gonna start rolling those out and seeing who can win the nerd gear contests and stuff like that.
And then Twitter at AFTH Podcast, and we are up on YouTube, so if you prefer to listen to us there, Aim for the Head Podcast will be uploading all of our episodes on there.
Awesome.
So, but as always, subscribe to our iTunes, write a review. That always helps us out. It'll help
Absolutely.
It'll help us get noticed on iTunes more. So that would be fantastic. And email us, aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. So I'm Diana.
And I'm Julie.
And we'll see you next week.